You're listening to
Split the Defense.
LEAFS Post-Game Edition.
Split the Defense.
Is presented by LaForest Electrical Contractors. Professional and efficient service since 2004. Serving the Kingston and surrounding areas. Alongside co-host Craig Pearce and producer Ted Evans, here's your host, Jordan Webster.
Welcome, listeners, to Split the Defense Hockey Podcast. I'm Jordan Webster with Craig Pearce and producer Ted Evans. And the Leafs just finished playing the Preds, and they whooped them. Wasn't it nice? It's finally nice. Like, I didn't need 6 goals. It didn't need to be something crazy. I needed a win like tonight. They looked like they deserved to win, and if you check the deserve to win-o-meter, it fully agrees. It had the Leafs at 90.8% of the times in 1,000 simulations that the Leafs win this game with the way that they played tonight. Amazing. I was really happy with it. Do you have any bones to pick at all? I have, I guess, a couple of things we could talk about maybe, but I'm not really concerned with much after tonight.
I mean, I only have, there was only one concerning thing about the entire game, I guess, is other than that, though, it's the entire every line seemed to they were going well. Samsonov had a great bounce back game that I think most people expected not a lot from. So I think that all in all, it was very similar to games from last year, right? Where they are just a very easy win, stress free, none of this overtime and everything else that gives me anxiety.
Every single player that I have listed here, Matthews, Nylander, Kampf, Gregor, Riley, Timmins, Tavares, Yarncroke, Marner, Brody, McCabe, Benoit, Nyes, all above 55% in expected goals, or all above 55% in Corsi, and 80% in expected goals. So you got to love that. Those guys were intense tonight. The Leafs went through a couple of periods where they were 80%, 75% winning the periods by expected goals, and you could tell. I think that the third period was a little more even, but the actual goals were 100% in every period. So they really were. They were really they scored more, and they deserved to score more. They played better. Matthews scored 2. You had Kampf with a goal, Gregor empty net goal. The first thing I want to start on is Matty scoring 2. So back to the case that I made before, Matthews scores in bunches. So we all look at his numbers and we're like, but he goes games without anything, and then he comes back and he scores 2 or 2 and 2, might even get 4 points some games, and it makes up for it. It doesn't. It really, I don't know. The Leafs played a mid team tonight, and they made them look like a mid team. They actually didn't play down to their opponents tonight like they usually do. They played a team that is mid, and they made them look as they are, and it was fantastic. Matthews scoring 2 against the Predators, though, I don't know if that really does it for me, him still not potting them every game. I'd like a little more consistency.
Yeah, definitely. I think we'll see. I have a theory that Matthews is trying to ramp up his season, and he started out hot because he wanted to show that he still got it. But I think as the season goes on, I think we'll see a little bit more and more effort and things to build. Because one thing that I think him in particular has learned is that if you are going through war basically in the playoffs, and he takes the brunt of all the abuse. And so I think that burning all your energy in games 13, 14, 15 isn't really necessary. And so as long as this team's going to make the playoffs, I want to see Matthews start to build throughout the season. Once trade deadline starts to hit, I want to see him being a little more consistent, at least we don't need a hat trick from him every game, but at least maybe more assists, more.
That's exactly what I don't want from him every game. I want a goal every game. I'd prefer he scored every game, every other game, and scored 40 in a season, than scored 40 in hat tricks in every now and again, because that means he's only helping in certain games. We want him to be dominant in every game, right?
Yeah. I think at his best he is. He's a guy that scored 50 and 50 at one point. So I think that He'll come around. I'm not as worried about him as I am just like some of the other parts of the lineup that maybe aren't as good. But I think Matthews is someone we paid him over 13 million for next season for a reason. I think that he's
Well, he
going to
better
be a
prove
goal
it.
scorer as long as he's healthy.
He better prove it. And I think that you need that kind of consistency. He's great defensively. Give me that. I'm not going to sit here and knock Austin Matthews, like
No, no.
our Lord and Savior. Like, no, like he's the man. And I completely appreciate the guy and I love him. But at the same time, like, you see this and we think like Austin Matthews there's nothing to knock. And it's like this consistency thing. I'm not crazy. I know I'm not crazy. This is a thing that's happening that he's not scoring all the time. In some games, kind of just isn't there offensively. He has a lot of block shots, I will say. I wonder after his first couple years when everybody found out he could shoot through their legs, how many times people are willing to get in front of those shots more often because they're like, I don't want to be on the highlight reel. But he has a lot of attempts, a lot of attempts. But he had like 8 attempts tonight before he got his first shot on net, and that was the first shot on net was his first goal.
Right.
So
I think
like,
also everyone got used to the way he shoots because he has that bit of like the dragon shot and shoot. So, like first couple seasons, the defensemen were lining up like someone regularly shooting, but now everybody knows that he pulls it inside. So,
it's true. Well, he got 2 tonight. Keep going, just keep building, like you said. Whatever, I'm happy with it. Camp scores now in back-to-back games. That would be more exciting if it wasn't his second goal all season long. He's got
yeah.
3 assists. He's got 5 points. I was thinking as soon as Camp scored that, oh, could he start building something here? What do we have here? Start digging in the old. Okay, that's his second one all year. Never mind. Well, so I don't know what to make of that. Like Camp looks like he looks like he's playing some of his best hockey in the last few games. And he looks like he's comfortable with his line mates. And I wonder what's happened. I wonder if he was uncomfortable with Reeves at the beginning of the year and now he's comfortable with Reeves. Because Reeves didn't look bad. The whole line didn't look bad out there with him on it.
Yeah, the last 2 games they've played the most out of every game. Reeves is tonight is the first time Reeves didn't have the least amount of minutes. So like they're out there. I think that's part of Camp isn't going to score if he's only going to be playing 6 or 7 minutes a night in on 5-on-5. Like you need to get up into the at least 10 minutes, and then maybe he gets to 13 or 14 because of all of the PK that he does. But yeah, I think he's been on more, so he's been able to score. And yeah, the fourth line looks like a line that can actually be good. I'm not sure if that's something that's going to be consistent or if it's just a like splash in the pan here, but yeah, I've been happy with their shifts and drawing penalties. The fourth line drew a penalty tonight.
Yeah, they
Good
did.
shift.
And that was a lot of Ryan Reeves himself. He's useful. Like it's funny because everybody expects him to go for the big hit. So everybody goes to brace for the play for the big hit and then make the quick pass. And then
Right.
he's a couple of times tonight in the right position and collecting the pass instead of going in for the hit. He's like, never mind. I'm going to use Ryan Reeves is a skill player a little bit. Okay. Well, no, he's not a complete idiot, right? He's an NHL hockey player. So it's funny that he's kind of switched that off as now he's such a threat that he doesn't even have to do it, and people still react that way when they run into the boards for a puck. A couple of the times there, he was the one who kept it in, and then I can't even remember who drew the penalty. It was Camp or was it Greg?
Yeah, Camp got tripped in front of the net there.
Camp
Yeah.
got tripped in front of the net, yeah. But that was all because Reeves had kept that puck in a couple of times in positions where I think maybe a few games in the past we would have seen him go in for a body check, lose position, and that puck would have went out. So I think maybe he's had a talking to, or he's just kind of figured it out himself. He's getting comfortable on the team. He's figuring out his spot. And like I remember seeing Ryan Reeves score a couple of goals against the Leafs. So it's
Yeah.
like 2 ever, but like, yeah, I mean, he's got it. So he can do it. He's not a complete moron. He's got hockey IQ. And if he has that threat out there, I think he could really I think he used it to his benefit more than actually banging bodies, if that makes any sense. As Ryan Reeves, who's like 6'3" and like 250
Yeah.
or whatever he is, massive boy. But so the Boo Birds were out for Ryan O'Reilly tonight, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that was deserved or what? Like, I thought it was funny hearing it go. They were pretty heavy. Like, it came through in the broadcast well.
Yeah, I definitely heard it too. I'm not I'm I'm mixed feelings about this one because like I don't mind that anyone who goes to an arena, you're welcome to boo. I literally you can boo over whatever you want. That's my opinion. But also like I don't think I would have been booing Ryan O'Reilly. Like I thank you for your service and I know you didn't want to play here. So I never had a bone to pick with him. But and it was also Luke Shen was out there too, but
Yeah.
didn't get the same response.
Yeah, but we love him. He's our
Yeah.
boy. We drafted him. So,
Yeah. He has more of a history here, so
yep, that's exactly it. I didn't think it was called for. I thought it was hilarious nonetheless. And maybe
yeah.
that's half the reason we do it nowadays, right? Are we even really booing because we hate this person? Or are we booing because it's kind of funny to boo the guy?
Yeah, I bet you
Like,
everyone's booing with a smile on, you know?
yeah, you know, it's kind of fun and funny.
Yeah.
That's my way to say I don't like you, but I'm not really upset about it.
Yeah.
You know, whatever.
Just like Otani's gonna get booed when he comes to Toronto.
Yeah. Oh my God. For a second here, Shohei Ohtani is a Los Angeles Dodger, and that is just not okay. All the stuff that Blue Jays fans got put through the last couple of days here in Toronto,
Sorry, that was so
like
funny to watch.
Oh my
the
god, not so
plane
funny.
tracking
Oh
and
my
like
God.
all
I'm
the
still
talk and
recovering.
reports from Dodgers reporters and John Morosi saying that he was heading to Toronto, and then you have some sort of opera singer saying Yusei Kikuchi is booking a sushi restaurant, high-end sushi restaurant near the Rogers Center. All this stuff is coming out just for Shohei to post on his Instagram what we all thought was going to happen 2 weeks ago before the Blue Jays got our hopes up in this.
Yeah.
That he's going to be a Los Angeles Dodger. Oh, we are
Oh
going to
man.
boo Shohei. And now Juan Soto's gone to the Yankees, so the other big free
That's the
agent in
worst
that,
part. Yeah.
it's what are the Blue Jays gonna do? Who knows? It's over for them. I have
Yeah. The
I
whole
have no
time I
idea
was
what's
just like,
happening there.
well, at least they'll get Soto if they don't get Otani. And then Soto left, and I was like, okay, it's all or nothing here. And it just ends up
and
being
now it's
nothing.
nothing. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've seen that before. Leafs
Oh
edition.
yeah.
All or nothing.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyways, the next thing I want to talk about is Sammy. He got a shutout tonight, but you noted in the first period that he is not tracking a puck through traffic. He looked like he was struggling tonight, but he made all the saves.
Yeah. I mean, that's been the Sammy all along though, right? Like it just means that he's like looking like his old self because he's never really tracked pucks that well. And I mean, it was one of those games where he had to make a few like big saves in the beginning, but basically one of those like I heard someone call it like an Osgood shutout, you know, like back in the day when Osgood just collected a 17 shot shutout.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, yeah, a 19 shot shutout, but from everyone having concerns that he could even make 5 saves, I think that a huge performance for him and his confidence, right?
Yeah, he needed that one. Most importantly, the Leafs needed that one.
Yeah.
Um, the only problem that I have with Sammy's shutout tonight is I hope it doesn't go to anybody besides Samsonov's head. And I hope everybody else still is very cautious with this because I wouldn't want to give Samsonov too much rope while Joseph Woll is out and recovering. I think that Martin Jones is going to have to play a bigger role than we think. And he kind of saved Seattle's season last year. I think he may have to do a similar thing for the Leafs this year because I'm not sure if you can rely on Samsonov to just jump in and be the starter now. I think he's still going to have to split a 50-50 role.
I disagree. I think that you go with Sammy as long as he's going to perform. I think you just keep going with him because this reminds me of
I
last year.
agree. If he's performing, you go with the hot hand, but I'm saying
Yeah.
you can't give Samsonov too much leash. You've got
Yeah,
to
like
it's going to have to be a 50-50 split. I predict that's what it's going to end up being.
I think that he make more like a 75-25. Like when Matt Murray went down last year, that's when he played his best. Like this is a guy who plays better when no one is pushing him to take his spot. And
Is
so
that a
I
good thing?
actually kind of have faith in him. Like this was a big test for him. If you ask
Is that a
me,
good thing though, CP? Like, holy
it is
crap, when
while
you
your
say that, that
starter's
scares
out.
the crap out of me. For when the pressure is off, he's really good.
Well, if he's your backup goalie, that's fine. You know, Joseph Wall's coming back. You know, I don't think
Oh
anyone's
yeah,
confused who the
I know.
starter is. And like pressure games, he's not the guy. I think we've learned that by now.
Yeah, just Joseph Woll, the guy. I mean, Joseph Woll with a high ankle sprain, like that can take. I know that
It's a
it can
tough
take.
injury.
We look at some of the recovery times, and even with athletes, we're probably expecting 6-8 weeks for him to be back into maybe a game. But like before he's like fully confident, I don't know if he's like, you feel like it feels good, and I can push on it, and it hasn't hurt me yet. But you still you're mentally not trusting of it yet. That's gonna take a little while, and I wonder if that affects Joseph Woll when he comes back too. The Leafs
A lot.
really are in some trouble losing Joseph Woll with that injury. He was playing really, really, really well, and if he could have stayed on that without any injury, they pretty much would have been set in the goaltending department, in my opinion.
Yeah, a lot of people say that like you'd rather break your ankle than have a high ankle sprain because like a broken ankle has a set time period where it'll heal in, where a high ankle could be 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks. Like it could be 3 months and it still doesn't feel well. Like it's especially for, like basketball players talk about it all the time. Where especially and hockey's not that different because like the boot isn't gonna like it's not a cast, right? Like your skate's not gonna protect it completely. So, yeah, it's kind of one of those where I'm glad it wasn't like a torn hamstring or a torn groin, but not a injury where we know exactly when he's coming back.
I mean, a strain or like a strain on a hamstring or a groin, as long as it's not up to a grade 3, it could be 6 to 8 weeks recovery time for any of those, same as this. But a high ankle sprain, like you just mentioned, it's one of those things that lingers. There's no set time that it heals and you come back and it's good. And even if, like I say, even with all the technology they have, mentally, I wonder how much that affects him. Like he's gonna recover. He's young. He's gonna recover. He's gonna come back and he's gonna play games this season. I just wonder if it affects him in his first few games coming back. And Samsonov's gonna have to be good. He's really gonna have to be good. And if he doesn't, hopefully Martin Jones can hold the fort like he did for Seattle last year. Anyways, Lankinen. Kevin Lankinen was playing in net for Nashville tonight, and there was no goals scored for like what first 80. I don't know. Like I don't know what felt like 80 shots on net. I guess we can be over exaggerative here. Like
Over exaggerating, but
everything,
yeah.
yeah. Like it was ridiculous. There was so many attempts, so many tries, so much time went by, and nobody scored on either side. And I just had flashbacks of a game that happened a year or two ago, and I was thinking Lankinen. Lankinen is the guy who played in Chicago, who was goalieing Toronto back in Chicago when they for some reason they've struggled with Chicago for a few years now, but he was their goalie. And tonight he was doing the same thing, and I was thinking, oh no, Lankinen, not again, because he is that guy who was like, who is this guy? What's he? He's kind of like a tweener, I think. Like he's might be a backup. He's a starter in a pinch, kind of plays as a starter on a bad team. I don't know. I wouldn't say he's a terrible goalie because he goalies the Leafs, but he really hasn't found his stride. Doesn't have a place in the NHL. But I was thinking tonight, oh no, this is gonna be a night the Leafs get goalied. I was thinking they were gonna lose 1-0 or something. Didn't end up pulling it out through to 3-0. Do you remember Kevin Lankinen in those games I'm talking about?
I do. Kevin Lankinen's he's one of those fantasy goalies that like he always seems to be a backup somewhere and has these crazy games once in a while, but for the most part he's just like an average goalie. But I do remember he has stood on his head a couple times. You know,
Do you think that's why they
Against the
kind of
Leafs.
started him? They've got a home like a back-to-back playing tomorrow against the Habs, so they've
so
obviously split in the goalie duties. Do you think that's why they went with him for the Leafs?
I honestly, I had this thought. Totally forgot about this at the very beginning. I was like, why would they not go Soros against the Leafs and then put Lincoln in against Montreal? I was
Right.
like, oh, they know the Leafs that well. They did a great scouting report, and they know that the Leafs hate playing backup goalies. So it was the best decision they could have made. It didn't work out for them, but yeah, I had that thought.
Also, you could consider that maybe they're going for the guaranteed 2 points. They think that they have a better chance winning against Montreal than they do Toronto. So
Yeah,
then they're going to put in their best lineup against Montreal the second night. Maybe give a bit of a half-assed effort in this one.
multiple benefits for the decision.
So I think that's probably where it came from. But yeah, Lankinen goaling the Leafs until they ended up scoring 3. 2 4, I guess that's what it ended up being because of the empty netter. Those even count. They count. They
Yeah.
count. 2 from Matthews, 1 from Camp, 1 from Gregor. Moving on. The next thing I wanted to talk about is Tavares. So it was Bertuzzi, I think. He was going behind the net, and he comes out with the puck, and he gets tripped, and he hooks the puck across the net. Had Tavares not been complaining with his hands up in the air, he could have grabbed the puck and probably buried because everybody else was like, oh no, what's happening here? And Tavares has just got his hand up like, come on, ref. And the puck goes whoop right by him. Like, shit. Like, come on, man. You've
Yeah.
got to be better as the captain, right? Like, you have to be better.
Yeah, I actually missed this play. I was letting my dog out, but I saw some people posted it on Twitter, so I actually saw but yeah, I don't know that. I understand the reflex to complain. Like he's not the only guy that complains on the ice, but just like it's awful. It's
But
such a
that's
bad look.
bad. That's a
Yeah,
bad, terrible look. Terrible timing, right? Like, of
yeah,
all timing for you to be complaining about a call. Like, it's like the epitome of the Leafs. Like, everybody says the Leafs are just complaining for calls, and like right there, our captain complaining for calls, right? Instead of
yeah.
scoring a goal that he should have had. Like, I'm salty about that because he's on my fantasy team as well. Like, he needs to get some points up in this, and he didn't.
Maybe
Jeez,
we should take
Tavares.
Marner away from him because I always call Marner Captain Complainer. So maybe he's rubbing off on Tavares too much because you always see Marner pouting about something. Doesn't often become like that where he could have had a goal, but yeah, between the two of them, they do almost more complaining than they do celebrating. So
Yeah. Oh, that really drove me nuts. So the Leafs now are 1 for 19 on the power play, is what you put in here. But they're running at 23% on the season. So are we gonna start to get concerned here at any time, or we're just gonna say it's still good, so no worries?
yeah, actually now it's like that was in the middle of the second, so now it's I think, and they scored on the power play, so I think it's 2 for 22 or 21 maybe is what the real number is. Um, I mean, it just hasn't been really clicking. It's not the first time we've brought it up. It's just I don't know. I don't know if there's any major change that they need to make other than just setting up better. And even tonight, they didn't score off of a setup. They scored just on an entry into the zone. So it's still not working. Whatever their power play setup is, it's not working at the moment. I don't know.
Well, they're 8th in the league for power play goals, so I mean it's not that bad. They're
Yeah, it's just the
23%, which is
stretch
above
that's been bad.
average. It's just recently, right? Like,
Yeah,
so obviously they must have been super dominant to start the year, and they really need to go back to that and find that.
well, like they only had after like 10 games, they only had about 5 even strength goals. For the first part of the season, their power play was carrying
that.
through everything. They're one of the lowest 5-on-5 scorers in the league, and it's been getting better in the last 10. But yeah, it got carried them for a while, but now it's kind of fallen off. So
Yeah, remember when Matthews used to lead the league in 5v5 goals? Just like when you wake up in the morning, you just knew
yeah.
that every day. It's one thing you just knew. Don't even have to check. Matthews is leading the league in 5v5 goals. Yes. So McCabe had a big hit. I don't even remember who he hit, but he had to answer the bell against Sherwood, which brings up the everlasting question: do you think big hits deserve fights?
I think that maybe that one did because it wasn't his fault, but he hit him right into that curved corner glass area. He didn't mean to, but I think certain fights require you to answer the bell, and
Yeah.
but way too many you do. But I wasn't too upset about that one. There was no instigator. Did you notice that?
I
If
did
the
notice
Leafs
that.
had gone and done that, there would have been an instigator penalty. But
Mm.
Nashville, no way.
Yeah, time and a
Maybe
place.
they were like, "Hey, man, technically it's not an illegal hit or anything, but yeah, that was bad. You should go punch him in the face."
Yeah,
And we get it. I would do the same thing.
like we
you
can't
know?
give him a
I don't know.
penalty, so
Yeah.
go get
So
him.
we won't give you a penalty either.
Yeah.
Because we understand.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Benoit took a big block at the end of the game, or just sorry, took a big penalty at the end of the game.
Mm.
And that was huge because it saved a goal.
Yeah,
Right? Like they were coming in and he was right there. I don't even know what he actually got penalized for.
yeah. High stick or a hooking. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
was gonna say I think it was a hook, but it was I was gonna say slash maybe, but yeah, it could have been a high sticking.
Yeah,
But
I don't
either
know.
way, crucial. And I'm not even upset about those. Like Ted, we talk about all the time. Those penalties are totally worth it because like you can just feel a goal's about to happen. Like like we say, the Leafs power play, who's eighth in the leagues, score at a 20% rate. So you're like looking at the goal right now and you're like, I see like a 90% chance this guy's gonna score. I'd rather go for a 20%
A 20, yeah.
chance
Exactly.
that they're gonna score. Let's take a penalty, right?
Yep.
Totally worth it. And the math checks out. So
Yeah.
I think that was totally worth it as well.
The happiest
Robertson.
person too is Ryan Reeves because he was standing right behind him, and I could just see the fear in Ryan Reeves' face. He's like, "No, I've been having a good game.
Yeah.
I don't want one to be in."
Oh, that's very funny. Yeah. Robertson, he had the least amount of ice time at 8:35. Reeves 8:58. What is even happening here with Nick Robertson? Like, does he look bad? Do you think he looks bad when he's out there? Like, is he like an AHL plus player right now? Like, what is happening? I don't understand. Maybe he needs to go on a team that's like young and developing and be good in 2 years because the Leafs need a guy who's good right now. But like, if you look at this kid, you can't look at me in the face and tell me that you don't think Nick Robertson's going to be a good NHL player for a bunch of years.
Well, the problem is that outside of his blue line, he's a better than average NHL player. Inside his blue line, he's quite a bit below average. And I just think that Keefe doesn't want to, he's not going to bench him because he's not making crazy turnovers, but he's not making, he's not a great guy to just chip it out of the zone and feel confident that he's going to be that guy. And so I think he's just losing more ice time because Keefe just constantly just doesn't trust him and doesn't trust him. So I think it's interesting because this is a guy that everybody has been saying that you have to give him like a whole season to really judge how he's doing. So I don't want to go out and say that like you need to bring someone up and bench him because what's that going to solve? Like he's just not a great defensive player, but he's only going to get better by playing and being on the team. When you play in the AHL, you're not necessarily learning those things, right? Like it's so much easier for a guy like him to play because he can just do whatever he wants offensively. But in the NHL, it just doesn't work that way. Like you have to be at least competent in your own zone. So I don't know what the solution is. I'm noticing that his ice time's going down and down, and tonight it's lower than Reeves, which it just has to say something.
Yeah. What do you think, Ted?
Man, I don't know. I'm happy that that your team is clearly figuring things out in times of needs. But yeah, I think Robertson. I don't know, man. I don't think he's I think like you said, you can't look me in the face and tell me he's not a good NHL player. But yeah, it's I don't think he's earning the ice time, right? Like,
Would you want him on your team? Would you
would I
want
want
the
him on the
Colorado
Avs?
Avalanche to trade for him?
I don't know if there was nothing really given up. If we got him in one of those situations, sure. I don't know how much I'd want to give up for him though.
Right. Yeah, that's the tough part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well.
So
How
no.
about those Philadelphia Flyers? Somehow beating the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah,
3-2 right now. Period 2.
I know. The first goal was a little bittersweet. They went up 1-0, and I have Couturier, and he got an assist. So I was like,
I know those feelings.
Just come back. You're like, I hope this game's like an 8-7 win when I have a bunch of fantasy players on that team.
Exactly.
Like, I just want the win. I don't even care about your confidence. So
Unless your goalie's in the game, that's the worst feelings in the world.
That's the worst. If
Yeah.
your goalie's in the game, that's terrible. All right. Well, this was an awesome show. Leafs, Preds, Leafs win 3-0. Deserve to win-o-meter says so 90%. I enjoyed it. Kick-ass win. It's nice to see what happened here. So let's pack it in from here.
Yeah.
And we will be back after every single Leafs game. Come check us out here on YouTube Live. I'm with CP, producer Ted. I'm Jordan Webster, and we are out. Peace.
Peace.
Split the defense.
Split the defense.
You've been listening to
Split the defense.
Leafs Post-Game Edition. Hosted by Jordan Webster, Craig Pearce, and producer Ted Evans.
Split the defense.
Is presented by LaForest Electrical Contractors. Professional and efficient service since 2004. Serving the Kingston and surrounding areas.
Thanks, Greg's boss.